of American life. And I think she is. Because now, Rona has been elected to Congress. That's right. After receiving an invite from Republicans nationwide, she has been in the Senate, and now she's in the House. Yep. She hit Representative Louie Gohmert of Texas. Yes, that Louie Gohmert, the one who refused to wear a mask, the leader of the anti-mask brigade, General Commander number 2, after the Commander-in-Chief, and committed to undermining the use thereof. That's right, Louie Gohmert today announced that he got the corona, the COVID-19. Now, I don't wish these folks any ill will, to be honest with you. I really don't. Truthfully, I don't. I understand illness, I understand sickness, and I don't wish it on anybody. I've had some of the worst. Those that know me know a lot of what I went through, and I do plan on sharing that with you folks at some future show, but needless to say, I get it. I don't wish that kind of thing on anybody, so I understand. But however, this thing doesn't care about your politics or if you believe in alien DNA. When you invite Rona, she will gladly show up. He hasn't said if he has hydroxychloroquine on hand. I'm sure he'll get the best of, that socialist medicine that we all despise so much. Wow. In other news today, the history of racial coded language is long and extensive. In today's era of the 21st century, the era of James Crow Esquire, we see that it's still here. And we're talking about housing today. Stay out the neighborhood. You ain't welcome in my neighborhood. Boy, have I had that happen to me before. I'll tell you some stories about that stuff. You just know you don't belong. And I think of some of those suburban areas and why they play on that fear so much. And you can literally be walking down the street, as we have seen in some cases, and I hate even bringing it up. The latest, you know what happened with Trayvon Martin. He didn't belong there, right? Latest one, Ahmaud Arbery, jogging down the street. He obviously didn't belong in that neighborhood, right? But that's what we're talking about here, the racial coded language and whether or not you belong in an area. And Trump seems to be wanting to play on that with his latest, with the housing development, the affirmatively furthering Fair Housing Act, the AFFH. The passage of the Fair Housing Act, FHA, sought to address the pervasive housing discrimination that existed during the 1960s. And this isn't something new, but the important part of it is the coded language that we always see and that we always hear being used when it comes to these situations. However, the FHA also contains a powerful mandate that it is simply not enough to prohibit housing discrimination, but that the federal government must do more in its programs and activities to achieve the aims of the FHA. This mandate is known as the Obligation to Affirmative Further Fair Housing, which came, of course, during the Obama era. And of course, if it has something to do with Obama, Trump can't have no part of that. And he's fighting for his political life right now. And this is what he tweeted. And this is where we get into the coded language portion of it. And I'd like to thank some of my followers for sharing these with me today. But Trump tweeted today that he was happy to inform all of the people living in their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer have to be bothered by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. Not everybody's neighborhood, just your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up. And here's the qualifier in the code. The qualifier. They always have a qualifier. Here it is. Your housing prices will go up based on the market. Nothing else, just the market. And crime will go down. I have rescinded, and here it is, the Obama-Biden AFFH. There you have it. It's that simple. If you don't understand the code and what that tweet is talking about, you haven't been around a while. You know exactly who he's talking about when he's talking about the suburban lifestyle dream. And it certainly isn't the people in the inner city trying to get out there. If you're not sure about Trump's history on housing discrimination, look it up. It goes back quite a ways. This was serious then, as it is now, and he knows what he's doing here. It's nothing new. It's the era. It's in a new form, of course. It's in the era of the James Crow Esquire. No longer Jim Crow. It's James Crow Esquire. Let's be clear on that. They know what they're doing. As you know, Milwaukee is hosting the DNC. And of course, every political event has protests. And if you haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of protests going on right now. And of course, the police are extra vigilant to ensure the security of all involved. No, I might have been wrong about that. Not in Milwaukee. Approximately 100 departments that pledged or contracted outside of the city had sent letters to the embattled Milwaukee Police Chief stating they will not be assisting in the security of the convention. Why, might you ask? Well, Milwaukee Police Chief Morales was given some mandates recently by the local Fire and Police Commission to not use tear gas, CO, or pepper spray, among other things, in a disciplinary review recently in order to save his job. So he had a bunch of tasks that the commission gave him, and in order to save his job, he has to complete these tasks within a certain time frame. Otherwise, he'll lose his job. So, they're taking away the tear gas. They say you can't use tear gas on any protesters. You can't use any CO2 and whatever other crowd control means they decide to cook up. But that's what they're saying. So, in other words, if we can't spray, we're staying away. That's what they're telling you. Now, I do understand this in a way, I guess. You know, you need something. You know, I mean, things do happen. You get big crowds and people get rowdy. You ever been to a boxing match or a, UFC thing and people get a little rowdy? They're drinking these conventions, they're drinking all that wine up and all this kind of stuff. But there is a cynical part to it that I kind of have in relation to it. And it's, with the way things are going on now, you got to kind of think about everything involved. Now, if you're not familiar with the Milwaukee area, the DNC is being held approximately maybe 4 or 5 blocks or something from the federal building where they house the local FBI. And not too much farther down the road is the federal courthouse. So maybe the police are being safe and don't want to get beaten by a bunch of unmarked or ununiformed and nameless troopers coming in from the feds, because they did propose the feds coming here to Milwaukee because we got so much rampant crime and so much damage to property here and so much unruliness that they got to bring in the troops. So maybe the police are afraid of those troops and they just want to get out. They don't want to be any part of that. Maybe the troops are coming in to put a check on them. I don't know. But I have to say I understand it, and I get it. In all seriousness, I get it. You need tools. I don't know. I mean, I know they still got tasers and things like that, and other, they've been using batons. I watched a Navy vet get beat up for just standing there peacefully. So I'm sure they got other means to deal with this, but apparently they need the spray, and I guess I can kind of sympathize a little bit with that. But do they expect a bunch of, being that it's the DNC, do they expect a bunch of right-wing activists to show up? Kind of like they did when they didn't want to wear the masks, when they decided to storm the other government buildings The police didn't show up there either. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. But I want to remind you guys of why the protests are taking place in the first, why they're happening in the first place. And that Milwaukee's hands were kind of tied because of the lack of action on alleged police misconduct here locally, with cases currently pending on the mistreatment of peaceful protesters. You saw the videos, and if you didn't see them, they're out there. You can check some of this stuff out on the local stations, and the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's been doing a lot on it. But you need to understand that all of us, whether you live in the inner city, the suburbs, or out in the country, your taxes pay their salaries. Your taxes pay the salaries of these police officers that are sworn to serve, protect, and uphold the law, and your constitutional rights for that matter. Your taxes and your taxes by proxy also go to their unions. See, they got to pay union dues for these big, powerful unions that are protecting their actions out there. So your taxes are paying for all of it. The way you're being treated, the way that they are doing their jobs, the equipment that they're being supplied with, and other funding that comes along the way, but it's all coming basically from the people that they serve. And I don't see a problem with them being able to come out and protecting the public at an event like this, especially when it has to do with your constitutional rights, with voting and protesting what you don't like, whether it be about the police or about anything else that's going on in your life. And I'm told that I got that wrong sometimes too. So I guess that is what it is, but you're paying for it. You're paying for them to stay away and to make sure that, whatever happens, happens. So, yeah, your money. Yeah, Constitution affords you a right to seek redress. And, of course, it affords you the right to get beat up and sprayed and all that other kind of stuff, too. Yeah, I've seen the videos. I've watched them. You should see the video in Albuquerque. Is that a gem? Looks like a war-torn Afghanistan out there or something. Fallujah. Maybe maybe something out of the dystopian novels you've been reading. You should take a look at it. Albuquerque. It's out there. It's floating out there. I'm sure you've seen it. And finally tonight, we did it, folks. We found the cure. That's right. It may lie with aliens, but we now know that folks were lying with demons. Thanks to Dr. Stella Emanuel. Dr. Stella Emanuel. Yes, this Dr. Stella Emanuel. Seen in the video posted by Breitbart on Monday. Now, I was shown this. I'm no stranger to this stuff. These people, when these things come out, people flood me with this stuff, and they swear it's the proof that they need. It's everything they need to just say, hey, everything you said is wrong. Forget the peer review, forget the science, forget the board review, forget the doctors that are out here doing this for 40 years. Let's leave it to the videos that come out with doctors such as Stella Emanuel. And what bothers me the most is that you probably have legitimate doctors in that video that have to align themselves with that. Interesting. And if you haven't really researched Dr. Stella, we're gonna read a little bit for you here in a second. But yeah, after folks were posting it all over right-wing pages, and that's where I seen it first. It came Breitbart, and then of course it trickles down into the Fox pages. I mean, Pence was actually meeting with these people hours yesterday at some point, hours before they came out in front of the Supreme Court building. But they're defending it, as they defend it. I don't even know what to say about it. It's crazy. But more on that in a minute. Born in 1965, Dr. Emanuel graduated with a medical degree from the University of Calabar in neighboring Nigeria, and has a valid doctor's license according to the website of the Texas Medical Board. She is also a pastor and the founder of Firepower Ministries in Houston, a platform she used to promote other conspiracies about the medical profession. Her sermons are available on her YouTube account that was set up back in 2009. So she's been doing this for a while. It's not new. She's been out there. And maybe that's why everybody jumped on her right away. They knew right away where it was coming from. 5 years ago, she alleged, okay, here's where it gets real interesting, and here's where we find the cure. 5 years ago, she alleged that alien DNA was being used in medical treatments and that scientists were cooking up a vaccine to prevent people from being religious. Now, it makes sense, right? I mean, if the aliens were, had this great DNA and she found it, and she believes that she cured everybody that had coronavirus that came to her and ended up with COVID, hey, I imagine the alien DNA there's something to it. Maybe she's going to use it to cure the COVID. Maybe we just didn't know and we had to listen. We had to hear them. We had to listen to them out there. Some of the other claims, including blaming medical conditions on witches and demons, a common enough belief among some evangelical Christians. And yes, they cast the demons out. I get it. Hey, there's history. Though she says they have sex with people in a dream world. Now that's a little interesting to me too. I've heard stories about that, pretty wild ones. But apparently demon sperm is the way to go. They turn into a woman, and then this is what she says, these ain't my words. They turn into a woman, and then they sleep with the man and collect his sperm. Then they turn into the man, and they sleep with the man, and deposit the sperm, and reproduce more of themselves. She said this back in 2013. Maybe her views have changed. I don't know. Maybe it's entertainment. I don't know. But either way, you got the president tweeting this stuff out. You got the vice president meeting with these folks. You got Junior tweeting this stuff out, which got him suspended, I guess, from Twitter and all that. Another issue that Dr. Emanuel targets is gay marriage, saying it is a result in adults marrying children, according to the Daily Beast. Wow. After social media caught up with Dr. Emanuel, she wants all the people she cured of COVID-19 to come forward. Maybe to give testimony to what she did for them. I don't know. Bizarre stuff. Then comes the deflection, and they all do it. They all do it. And I'm serious. There's always a deflection with these folks. I quote, Jesus will shut Facebook for everybody railing against these folks and shutting it down. Jesus will shut it down if you keep bringing it up. And yes, I am not immune to this kind of stuff because you see it happens to me quite regularly. On my own Facebook page, I get it all the time. I got my trolls just like you do. You've seen them. You know who they are, especially if you're on my page. And matter of fact, I'm going to open it up on my phone here because I haven't even looked at it in a while. But but I get them too, man. I get them, and they're hard pressed, and there's no way of dissuading these people. They just come out of the woodwork. But I got to show this to you, and I swore I wasn't gonna do this, and I'm not gonna put anybody out there. I respect them, even though we disagree politically. I still give them a little bit of a voice on my page, probably much more than I should, but I do. And so after the social media caught up, you start to get the cult behaviors, right? You start to get all the cult-like mentality out there. And like I said, I'm no stranger to it. And after I posted an article about this doctor from Nigeria, after I posted the article from her home country of Nigeria on my Facebook page, I get the following exchange. Now, this is what I want you to know about this exchange. I'm only going to spend a little bit of time on this before I close tonight. But in this exchange, you always, like I said, they always do it. You got to look for the deflection, right? Because the only way they can get you to get off of your commentary and your proof and your evidence and all the evidence that you have researched and everything that you put into what you do, including this video, this live cast. And I'm doing this live, by the way. After doing all of that, you're still wrong, and they got to show you by deflecting to how wrong you are. And usually the deflection has nothing to do with what you're posting or the article or any of that. So as you can see in the graphic, it started that way. After I posted that article from a Nigerian website and newspaper about how Stella Emanuel busted as a quack COVID-19 doctor. And I'll read this for you just in case you're not able to see it well. The person responded after I posted this, and probably didn't even read the article. And the smear campaign begins. So much for tolerant of other views. Tolerance, I'm assuming, is what they meant. Yeah. I didn't even know how to respond really, but it went further, and there was a question, and I responded. I said, well, I guess I gotta look back on this because it was you're gonna want to see this all because this got real crazy. I responded with, do you believe demon sperm is creating lizard people in government and etc.? Good luck with proving those smears and such, And then I kind of reminded them to, of course, research these people. Don't just take their word for it. That's cult-like mentality. You just assume that because you believe in the cult and you believe in the person that's promoting this stuff, that it's the truth and that it's okay because it aligns with your biases. Well, okay. Well then, after I said all that, the next thread was, then why the censorship? And as you can see, I responded here with the graphic on the screen. And I usually don't even respond to this because this is where the deflection starts to it starts to birth itself. And I said, because folks who believe in everything they see confirms their biases. It can harm themselves and others. And I'm trying to make sense of this. Let me repeat this. Because folks who believe everything they see, especially when it comes or confirms their biases, can harm themselves and others. It's pretty simple. It's pretty clear. But it didn't stop there. Here's the deflection. Since when is it big tech's job to protect people? It's more like they are controlling the narrative they want published. Agree with us or we'll remove you. It's the big tech. It's time big tech loses their open forum privilege. And by the way, one more question that you won't answer. They assume I won't answer their questions or that I just didn't answer it in the previous comment. Who specifically are you talking about when you say folks? Well, first, let me clarify. I'm not just talking about the gangs of Chicago and Milwaukee. I'm actually talking about individuals, people, and I did respond to that in the trolling fashion that I normally get trolled with by these types. And I said, basically, people, individuals, those, them, others, like me, like you, humanoids, non-reptilian, etc., non-lizard-like people that don't want to inject bleach and disinfectants to cure diseases that hydroxychloroquine doesn't seem to work for. Yeah, that's what folks means, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. And what you don't see in the graphics after that, I left it alone after that. And I decided to work on this show so I could bring it to you. But as I look at it now, this went on for about 11 hours, folks. This thing has been playing out for a long time. So obviously this is really it got on their nerves. These doctors, I just don't understand the need to discredit people like Dr. Fauci and other peer-reviewed scientists out there and all the evidence that's in the world right now with countries that have basically leveled this thing off to a livable proposition to do things normally again, and yet we're still struggling with this 7 months in. I mean, call me crazy. I don't know. I don't get it. But then they go, this gentleman goes on to say, that's the problem. You can't get specific. Once you do, your argument falls apart. I didn't respond, of course. That's why you are always using general terms like folks. It's the only way your argument makes sense. When you actually start talking about specific people, it falls apart. I thought it was specific enough. Cult-minded people that believe alien DNA and hydroxychloroquine and other conspiracy theories, I made it pretty clear. Those folks, I'm not sure exactly what more specific I could do. I was tempted to respond with just change the word folks at the beginning of my comment and say people. Back here, I was going to say because people who believed everything they see, especially when it confirms their biases, can harm themselves and others. I don't know how much more clear I can get on that. But folks, I enjoy being with you every night. We're going to do this more regularly. We're going to get out there. I appreciate you all for listening, tuning in, and all that good stuff. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you, but I need your assistance as well. We got other things coming in the near future with some nonprofit organizations. If you don't remember, I did some music. I'm also a music disc jockey. I don't just sit behind a microphone, right? So I did a fundraiser not too long ago for COVID-19 where I was DJing, doing a live mix show. I'm going to be doing that again for another organization. I'll have details on that for you in the future. But I wanted to remind you to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can get a notification when I come online, when I do a live show. And especially, as you can see at the bottom of this page, donate at the Cash App. If you like what you're hearing, even if you don't like it and you feel like just paying me to shut up, I'm okay with that too, but just leave that in the comments when you send it to me. But donate to the Cash App at $DJ Frosty Freeze. I appreciate everything I get from you guys. It's what keeps me going. It's what helps me do this show. And it's what I love to do, what I have. It's great to be back. It's been like 20 years. I'm sure we're going to have more people getting in here. I'm going to be doing some interviews soon. I'll be sharing some other things with you. Man, craziness out there, folks. Don't fall for the witch doctors, man. I was going to play that song for you today, but I'll save it for another time because I'm sure this ain't over with yet. I appreciate you. I appreciate the people that support me. I appreciate the people that don't support me, and I especially appreciate the trolls because they give me so much content to work with. And, hey, peace. I love it. I love you, and we'll see you next time.
Your girlfriend's favorite DJ, DJ Frosty Freeze.